Hello students, good evening to everyone. In the last videos, we have started the chapter Determinant, right? And I have told you what is a determinant, how to expand, what is the difference between determinant and a matrix, and then we have discussed few properties, right? Few properties related to determinant, okay? So that was all about the theory. Your job was to write in a notebook. Now today what we are gonna do it right now here is very important, and this you will not find in any books. Okay, so this is all the thinking process. So listen very carefully, nice. And any step you don't understand, you have doubts, you are most welcome to call me, most welcome to ask me doubts anywhere you want. Okay, let's start with type of questions and the thinking process to go for it. Okay, now in this chapter the first type of question which you will face is, it will be written like this: using properties, prove that one determinant is given equals to something into something into something, like this. Okay, understood the question? Now your job is what? Take the determinant, apply properties, okay, and prove that is equals to RHS. Now what's your job is? How the thinking process will start. Now see here, thinking process as I have written, you have to think in the same way. You cannot haphazard the whole thing. Okay, you cannot think the fourth step in the first step, in the place of first step. The first step should be thinking, should be like, what I'm saying is that you cannot reorder the whole process on your own. Okay, if I say the first step is this thinking process, that means in every question the first step you have to think in that way only. Okay, so let's start. Now take the LHS. For example, I'm taking the LHS. This is the determinant. I have denoted that determinant as del. Okay, now what's the first step? In that determinant, you observe all the rows, all the columns. Okay, when you observe the rows and columns, you will see that the terms are coming out common. Which terms? The question was something equals to something to something to something. Now whatever the terms we have in the RHS, okay, these terms, not all but few, will come out common in the course of doing the sum. Okay, maybe few things will come out at the first step, maybe next few terms will done after few steps, okay, but they will come out common. Okay, don't think that we have to expand the whole determinant and then we will get the whole RHS. It's not like that. Okay, that is a laborer's job. You understand? So what my first job is, see the determinant, see the rows, see the columns. You will see that something will be coming out common from any one row, or something is coming out from all the rows, okay, all the columns, like that. Okay, now that is there. Observe the determinant, rows and columns, and take out common terms. Okay, now next you are observing, but you are not getting common, but you can see that there are some algebraic identities we can apply in the determinant. That means you can apply some formula there. Okay, a is equal to b square, a is equal to b square, like these formulas you can apply on. Okay, so then what you have to do? You have to apply those formulas and then you have to see again, can we take out something common? That is it. If direct common terms are not visible, okay, apply algebraic formulas and then take out common. Okay, so this is the first step. You are observing your determinant. Okay, so we understood the first step. Okay, we will see the determinant, we will see the rows, we will see the columns, like this: rows, columns, take out common. If you cannot see direct common terms, apply identities. If you can, then take out common. Okay, now for example, you have a determinant. You have seen that from the rows, from the columns, nothing can be coming out common. Even after there is no scope of applying the formulas. Okay, no problem. This is the first step, thinking process. You don't find anything, okay, go to the next one. Okay, but don't go to directly the sixth one, like that. Okay, it's not like that. Okay, first step done. You have seen something common, take it out. If you cannot see, don't take it out, fine. Now, second step is a very vital step. Apply in most of the question, 90% of the question, this thing will work. Okay. Now, what's the job is? Add all the rows or any two rows. Any two rows. Ri, Rj. Any two rows. Okay. Add. Then, if this thing will not work, then what's the job is? Add all the columns or any two columns. Okay. Now, why we are doing it? When we add the rows, for example, we are adding the rows are horizontal lines, right? So we'll add it like this: R1, R2, R3. Okay. So when you add the rows, you will see that you will see one common term in all the elements of a particular row. Like for example, here you are writing R1 changes to R1 plus R2 plus R3. So in this property, R1 will change, R2, R3 will remain same. That means R1 plus R2 plus R3, I will write in R1. Okay, I am writing here. R1 plus R2 plus R3, I will write in R here. R1 plus R2 plus R3, I will write in R1. When you do this property here, you will see that in R1, all the elements become same. As soon as you get this thing, half of the job is done actually. Okay, now in few questions, this doesn't work. Then you see any two row, maybe R2 plus R3. Okay, R2 changes to R2. For example, I am doing R2 changes to R2 plus R3. Now what will happen? Only R2 will change. R1 will remain like this, R3 will remain like this. Then your R2, you will see the same terms are here, R2, dash, dash, dash. You will see the same terms here. So what I am trying to say is that the common terms, the same, similar terms, is not necessarily you will get in R1 only. You may get in R2, you may get in R3. Okay? This, baksa, baksa, baksa. What is this baksa, baksa, baksa? The baksa, baksa, baksa is nothing but it's the same term. That same term you will get in any one row. Maybe here, maybe here. But you will get definitely. Then only I will use these things. Okay? Now, if these things working with rows, we are applying property with rows. If these workings not giving me common term, okay, then the same question, go for this. It's type of hit and try. Add all the columns. When you are adding all the columns, column 1 plus column 2 plus column 3. You are adding like this, na? Column 1 plus column 2 plus column 3. So you write here, C1 will likhoge. So C2 and C3 will remain same. Okay, when you apply this, you will see that in C1, similar terms you can see. Okay, similar terms you can find. Okay, maybe adding all the columns doesn't work. Add two columns. Any two columns. You have to observe. That's your job. To see the question nicely. To see the LHS, see the determinant nicely. Okay, again, these similar terms you may find in C2 also, you may find in C3 also. Okay, you will find similar terms, but you may find in any column. Okay, now what is the like profitable job if we get something like this? As soon as we get something, okay, we can take out this thing common. So take out this term baksa common from R1. As soon as you take out this from R1, in R1 what you left with 1, 1, 1, ABC, remain DF, remain like this. Okay. Same job. If in your question you are working with column, then you can take out column from common from column this. So we are taking this baksa common from C1. You have to write like this: taking common baksa from C1. Here you have to write taking common baksa from R1. Now please, for the God's sake, baksa is not baksa, it can be any term like ABC, ABC, ABC. So we like taking common ABC. Okay, now you will get 1, 1, 1 here, rest everything will remain same. Okay, now this is the very important, like profitable thing for me is that we got 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, now few questions, if you are lucky enough in boards, your question may start from this step only, 1, 1, 1. Then you don't have to do these things. These two steps we did to get 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. This 1, 1, 1 you may get in any one row or in any one column. Okay. Okay. So when if a question starting with like this 1, 1, 1, forget about all the other elements. Then you don't have to do these two things. Then your job will be after this. Your thinking person will start from step 3. Okay. Okay. Now see, we got 1, 1, 1. Now your job is make 2 zeros in that row. Okay, or in that column, like here. In this R1 we got 1, 1, 1, make 2 zeros. In this column we have 1, 1, 1, make 2 zeros. How to make? See, 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1, we will get 0 here. 1 minus 1, we will get 0 here. So now see what I am doing. I am subtracting this minus this. What are these? Vertical lines. Now, vertical lines are column. So I am subtracting C2 minus C1. So I am changing C2 changes to C2 minus C1. And C3 minus C1. C3 is C3 minus C1. You have to apply in such a way that this should be same होना चाहिए. What I'm doing, see, I'm fixing C1. I'm fixing C1, then I'm subtracting C2 also, I'm subtracting C3 also. See, C1 is fixed. C2 minus C1, C3 minus C1. Okay, फायदा क्या होगा देखो इधर. So in these two properties, I'm changing C2, I'm changing C3. C1 remain like this. Just keep the C1 like that. Okay. Now C2 minus C1, C2 minus C1, C2 1 minus C1, 1 minus 1 0. Then C2 minus C1, B minus A right here. Then E minus D. Okay, C2 minus C1. Now C3 minus C1, C3 minus C1, 1 minus 1 0. C minus A here, F minus D here. Okay, class. So this minus this, like this. Okay. Now similarly, we can go for the next one. Okay. Now in this one, see, my job is to make two zeros. We have here. Now fix R1. Don't do anything with R1 now. This minus this minus this. So we are subtracting the horizontal with the horizontal. So horizontals are rows. So we are working with rows. R2 minus R1. See here. R3 minus R1. See here. So I am changing R2 and R3. That means R1 will remain like this. 1 A B. Now change the R2. R2 minus R1. 1 minus 1 0. C minus A. D minus B. Then 1 minus 1 0. E minus A. F minus B. Okay. Now see, we got 1 0 0, we got 1 0 0. My 80% sum is done. Okay. Now what's the job? After doing these things, we get something like this. Okay. Now again you have to see, we have 0 here, check out this column. We have 0 here, check out this column. We'll find something common. Okay, again we have 0 here, check out this row. We have 0 here, check out this row. That's I put an arrow here. We have to observe these columns, we have to observe these rows, and we have to take out common. Okay, the same step, this step and this step are same. You have to take out common. If direct common you cannot see, you will see you have a formula, maybe some formula is applicable here. A square B square, A square B square. Apply the formula, then you take out common. Okay, if nothing is coming out common, fine, no problem. Okay, now after taking out common, if you can take it out common, take it out common, write it outside. If you're not, fine. Now your job is to expand. Okay, your job is to expand. You got 1 0 0, you can expand. In this type of question using properties, okay, you cannot expand the determinant till you don't get two zeros in any one row or in any one column. Now here, see, in this R1 we got 1 0 0. Here in column 1 we got 1 0 0. That means we can expand. Okay, if you don't get two zeros in any one row, any one column, we cannot expand. Now, after getting this, what are these dotted lines? Try to understand the step 5. This is a little bit trickier. You have to imagine, not expand. You have to imagine to expand. Okay. If I start expanding this, okay, how to expand? Using that row or that column which has two zeros. That means if I want to expand this determinant, we can expand in 6 different ways, right? Out of 6 different ways, we have to use that row or that column which has two zeros. In this row has two zeros, so I will expand by R1. Okay, if you start expanding this R1, we will work with only one factor, plus 1 and these 4. Start expanding. Okay, in your notebook you will understand. These two will remain 0 0. If we start expanding by column 1, okay, we will left with 1 and these 4 terms. That I have written here. See, imagine to expand using the row or column which has two zeros. Okay, now in expanding, when you start expanding, imagine, that is the rough way to do. In expanding, all terms become 0. You see all the terms become 0 except 4 terms. These are the 4 terms. Except these 4 terms. Okay, you will see all the terms are 0. Now, your job is to observe those 4 terms. All in rough, you have to imagine, observe these 4 terms. If these 4 terms are small, then your job is to expand, you will get the answer. Okay, but sometimes what happens now, these 4 terms which we are interested while expanding are huge. That this one term is a plus b plus c, one term a plus b plus c, a square plus b square plus c square, like this. So many terms are there inside one term. Then you start expanding, which is impossible to expand. So if those 4 terms are large enough, that is impossible to expand. Then what's the job is? You have to simplify these 4 terms. Okay, you have to simplify these 4 terms. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, now how to simplify, that is discussed in the next step. Okay, now let me tell you one more thing. Like for example, here we have 1 0 0. For example, we have A here, B here, C here, 0 1 0, E F G. Let's take a small example. Now in this, I have to expand by R2. Okay, when you expand by R2, your first job is minus 0. When you start expanding, minus 0, then you have to hide. Okay, if you hide, you will get B, C, F, G. Okay, then plus 1, then again you have to hide like this, plus 1 hide. What you will get? A, C, E, G, then again plus minus 0, then again you have to hide. You have to hide A, B, E, F. Now see here, these terms become pura 0. Why? Because 0 into. So forget about this term. So now I am expanding it. In the exam, we don't show these things. Again, this term will be also 0. Now what are the 4 terms we left with? A, C, E, G. Okay, that we can find it from here only. See, I want to expand by R2. So I left with only one, this and this. So we left with, these are the 4 terms. That 4 terms I'm talking about here. That means you have to observe these 4 terms. Are they small or not? If they are small terms, one single term is there, you expand it. If they are triple terms, don't ever try to expand. Okay, if you try to expand, you will never get the answer. Now your job is to how to simplify these things. That we will discuss next. Okay. Now let's discuss how to simplify those 4 terms. Okay. Now, for example, this was the situation we have. In the row 1 we have 1 0 0. Okay. And here A is something. So in this situation, these are the 4 terms we are interested in, and we have to simplify these 4 terms. Okay. Now, in this case, what will happen? Here we have again. These are the 4 terms we need to simplify. Now let's take one more example. Or, okay, when you're writing the notes, you have to write like this. Dot dot is. You have to make a draw line like this in between and write in first column and second column, because both the cases, out of both the cases, any one case you will get in the question. Okay, maybe one of the question will follow the LHS part, other question follow the RHS part, like this. Okay. Now see here, may have like this. Here in first row we have 1 0 0. Maybe in few questions we have second row 0 1 0. Previous thing what we discussed. In this case, which is the 4 terms we are interested in? One here. So if you hide like this, so I am making it a circle. This, and this. In this one, again hide like this. So we are interested in these 4 terms, right? Now, we have to simplify these 4 terms using these properties. Row, take any row, subtract with other row or add with other row. Take any column, subtract with other column, add with any column. But mind it, we have to use these properties keeping in mind that the zeros which we have already, after so many jobs, we get the zeros. Those zeros should not be disturbed. Okay. So how to find out which rows or which columns to work with to apply this property so the zero will not disturb. Okay, that I have written here. Apply properties this to the marked rows that I have discussed, which marked rows and columns, to simplify the 4 terms of expansion. In expansion, the 4 terms which we need to simplify without disturbing the zeros in a row or column already present. Okay, now see here. In this, which 2 columns will you deal with? These 2 columns where we have zeros. Because if we subtract these 2 columns, 0 minus 0 is 0. If we add these 2 columns, 0 plus 0 will be 0. If we multiply something with 0, it will remain as 0. So we have to work with these 2. Okay, 0 0 will remain as 0, that means 0 will not disturb, and we will work with these two rows. I cannot work with R3 with R1. Okay, R1 we cannot change the R1. If it start changing R1, then this 0 will change, na? So I will deal with these two columns and these two rows. Here, see these two rows, we have 0 0. So if we start adding, subtracting, multiplying, anything with these zeros, 0 will remain 0. And these two columns where we don't have any zeros. So when you start adding, subtracting, adding, subtracting, multiplying these two rows and these two, then what will happen? You will see automatically these 4 terms will slowly simplify automatically. Okay. Here, now check out this. I am taking one more example to make it more clear. Okay. Now here are the two zeros. We can work with these two zeros. That means this column and this column we can work with arrows. And these two. We cannot work with this row. If you start working with this row, what will happen? 0 will change. Okay, so you need to identify these things, and these things will come with practice. Okay, here whatever we are studying is just a brief of so many questions we about to do. You have to do at your home. Okay, now see. Again, these two rows are zeros. Work with these two rows. These zeros will not change, and work with these two columns. Okay, we cannot work with this. If we start working with this column, what will happen? If we start working with C3, what will happen? Zeros will disturb. Okay. Now, after doing these things, again go to that common wala step. Write the same thing what I have written in the step 1. Take out common term. If direct common term is not same, you will see some formulas can be applicable. Apply formula, take out common. Okay. Now, after this simplification process is done, now you can expand the whole determinant using the row or column which have 2 zeros. Okay. This is all about type 1 question. Okay. Now, we will do sums regarding type 1 question. Okay.